Welcome to drawing the dog, and I'm using a white pen that I use. I have several that I use in case one runs out, and here I'm also using a white charcoal pencil just to kind of do my outlines, and then I have a kneaded eraser. And this is a photograph I'm using, and you can see that the first thing I'm going to do is concentrate on the sort of broad shapes that you can see, the angles of everything. So I sort of know where I'm going to put something, and I'm going to use my charcoal pencil for that. So here I go. So the charcoal is very easy to erase once you start using your pen. But here we go, and I'm just going to like a little circle, and then there's another one here. So this is sort of the angle of his nose a little bit, you can see, and his eyes are fairly much straight across, so I'm going to just do a little thing here for his eyes, and then we've got this lower part for his muzzle, and there's his left eye here, and it comes down, and the right eye is much further over this side, and then the muzzle is another little circle that I kind of create. Now, these aren't necessarily the final things, but it kind of helps you as to where the nose is going to go. So this is, you take a little bit of time on this. Don't rush this, because you've got to kind of figure where everything is and line everything up in your photograph, so that you can sort of see where everything's going to go. You know, this is his other ear. There we go. And then you can also sort of look at it and screw your eyes up. See, well, do I have this right? Do I have it wrong? You know, and sort of get it just generally sketched in very lightly. You can see that I'm not putting any pressure on this whatsoever. And now I'm going to take my pen. You can see I can sort of erase a little bit with my finger. And now I've got my pen. So this pen that I'm using is called a Signo. You can get them on Amazon. It's a Signo. Anyway, whatever. It's a Signo. If you look up Signo white ink, you'll get it. And you can also get them at Blick or like anywhere. But I found them to be the best. And so I'm just making a few little corrections here. Just want to make sure I've got everything in place. And then I'm going to start going with my Signo. Yeah, so, you know, don't want to, like the Signo, obviously, the white pen, you're not going to be able to erase it if you make mistakes. Although there is a way of correcting, which I'll show you right at the end. And I love doing it. So why did I select this black paper? Because, you know, it's going to be much better to do. The great thing about a black and white dog is seeing him on a black background, you know, or a cat for that matter. So, you know, I just want to make very sure I've got everything right here. I'm like lining up, really taking care to line up that left eye. It's just so small, so I'm erasing it. So you can see I take a little bit of time on this. And that's what I want you to do. I don't want you being rushed. This is where you kind of, it's the make or break. So I'll just put a little bit in. So now, when we're using a white pen, what we're doing is we're drawing the highlights as opposed to, you know, where we're putting shadows. This is just the highlights. So you're just really copying where you see the whiteness showing up. And it really has quite a cool result, you know. I think you'll really enjoy this. And you take your time. And you can see that I hold the Signo pretty much. You can see I'm holding it so that it goes directly down. And holding the pen so it like directly down. And I'm using, you know, I'm holding it close up to the nib. And I guess say yes. So it's quite, so I take my time here. I'm really marking this out. Why? Because I'm not going to get a second time with this. You know, it has to be right. So putting the eye in, and then once I get my eye in, everything else is going to come, pretty easily organize around that, with the little highlights. Very important, to put the highlight in the eyes, because that's what kind of makes it feel a little bit more real. And here now, I'm putting some of this cool white thing. And, it doesn't have to be perfect. And now I am not recommending necessarily you do everything just like I'm doing it. It's not necessary, It's like, I think that it's actually good to have your own style. I'm a little bit of a messy drawer. I always tell everybody, don't listen to me. I'm a messy drawer. And I don't really worry about getting everything just perfect. Some of our instructors that we have are really, really much more careful than I am, and I really admire them. They have so much more, I just don't like to spend that much time on it. So I'm just putting in his white ruffle around his neck here. And then you'll wonder, well, what are you going to do about the areas where it's not quite so white? Well, you know what I do? Just don't press so hard. Hold your pencil or your pen and just make very light marks with it. And that'll be sufficient to, make you lighter where the white isn't quite so bright. I just hold it so it's not quite so close. And also you can go in afterwards and get a gray brush pen, which I'll show you finally, and you can mark it in. And then if you have something that's not quite right, you can fix that also later on using a black pen over the top of it to correct anything that's really wrong. I see I've still got this eye not quite right. I'm moving it over a bit. There we are. That looks a bit better to me. And there we go with his ear. And I think you'll see that I'm going to have to erase that top line that I had. It's not quite right. But, you can see, now these are just what we call, this whole technique here is really covered in chapter 2 of our book, and it's hatching. So hatching is the best way to do any kind of fur. They're just little lines, and they can go in any direction, but they're just little lines. They don't necessarily cross each other. If they cross each other, we call it cross hatching. So they're just little lines. And this is a little bit of hatching going in, and we always go in the direction of the fur that you might sort of, you kind of, when you pat your dog, or you love dogs, or you love cats, you'll kind of know which way their fur is going. So, the ruff around his neck is kind of a little bit like kind of goes inwards towards the middle. So it kind of creates a little kind of ruff, like a little ruffle or a little, collar. It's like a collar of white there, and quite beautiful, going around his body, obviously. So, it's still pretty light. I'm going to, put more, and, I'm putting more towards the top of his head, and I'll have to erase that top white line, which I can do because that was just done very lightly. I'll stop talking for a while and you can watch what's going on here. Now I'm not actually speeded up here. I just speeded myself up. So once you get sort of, it's in the right place, you can go pretty fast and you can put those lines in very quickly. Now you can watch the video all the way through and then take the video and then, just stop it at various areas so you can follow along and do your own. And then once you watch the video, this particular process, you can repeat it for your own animals or your own pictures or photos. Just watching what are we actually concentrating on. Well, we're concentrating here on starting out, giving yourself some basic shapes. And your basic shapes is what kind of keeps you kind of grounded in your drawing so that you don't, at the end of it, end up with a drawing that just isn't working at all. You really want to spend time on this basic and starting procedure of estimating what we call these guidelines. So guidelines are usually straight lines, circular lines, oval lines, just basic shapes, maybe a triangle, whatever it is that you see that is obviously going to help you. Starting with your photograph, you're going to look in your photograph and go, oh, I get it. That's what's really going to help you. If you do that, you are going to be amazed. So now you can see I'm really going over the bright white. So always be aware of where the light is coming. You can see in this case, he's kind of casting a little bit of a shadow underneath his thing. And because I went very lightly in there, it looks a bit like a shadow. I'm just going to give it a little bit more white fur here. And now just filling it in to make it nice and bright white. So I've got my eraser now. Now make sure that your ink is dry. It should dry very fast, but just make sure that it is dry. And then now you can see that I'm erasing all these extraneous white marks here. Need to erase some at the top. I keep forgetting that top bit. Not right at all, but never mind. Still looking okay. He's looking kind of cute. And again, like I could compare it and go, it's not perfect. But you know what? Don't worry about that. He's got a lot of character as a drawing. He's got quite a bit of character. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to actually use a little bit of black pen and gray pen. And I'm bringing them over. I use a black, you can use any kind of black pen, but I tend to use a Sakura black pen and a Sakura gray pen. You can see them here. And this is one of the pens I've got here. So not that one, but I'm going to use. And then I also bought some colored pencils for his eyes. I thought, well, why not just put a little bit of color in it using colored pencils? And they work very well. If it is the Prismacolor, it works very well on black pencil, So here's a brush pen. Not the Sakura actually, but it's the nicer one. So I'm going to just, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to clean it up a little bit where I've got a bit of stuff that I really didn't need. And then bring this eye in a wee bit here. Still not very happy with that. It's not perfect, guys, I have to say. But it's at least not terrible. And, I feel that, you've been able to learn something from this, But now I'm just kind of using the black pen to just touch up, fix anything. I've got a little bit too much white there, you know, okay. And really don't want this here, so taking out that top part there. And you can just now use your black pen as a sort of secondary color, really. And I think that what's happening is that the light is bringing out that white at the top. Should have erased that, and I will do. And it'll look a lot better when I do so. But now you'll be interested. I want to create brown eyes, but you know what? I'm going to have to use that bright orange pencil, because the bright orange on the black will read as a brown. You'll be amazed. So maybe a red or a bright orange. Yep, the red will go great. See that? So between the red and the bright orange. And now we've got to see that little eyes looking pretty good. I don't know, it just gives it a little extra kind of oomph, I think, you know, to put a bit of that color in. Don't you think? Yeah, just a little bit more, and a bit of yellow maybe. They have such beautiful eyes. It seems a pity not to feature it. And he's a very messy looking dog. He's kind of got hair all over the place. So, you know, that's his character. So, you know, I feel we've kind of grabbed his character a little bit. But those lovely eyes, you know, we love our dog's eyes. And here we go. And you know, I might put a few little bits in the middle here. Just add a little bit more color in. I just do see a little bit of maybe slightly more blondie color in there. But generally speaking, I'm just going to stick with the black and white. And then I'm going to come in with a gray pen now and add that little bit of underneath his chin. Oh yes, a bit underneath his chin. I'm going to add a little bit of gray. So when I add the gray under the chin, it's going to help quite a bit. Whoops, I just saw something I need to fix on his nose. Okay, there we go. A little bit on his nose. Yeah, so this is your final, you know, the final bit. Do you know what I mean? So you can take your time and have some fun over this part. And this is your sort of detailing. And to be honest with you, I could spend a bunch of time detailing this, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to put a little bit of gray pen. Yeah, here we go. I'm just going to bring that little side bit in there. Yeah, I had just made that just a wee bit too big. And yeah, that's looking better. That's better. There we go. Okay, good. And still waiting for that gray pen to come in there. I know I'm using it. Yep, here it comes. And then we're pretty much done. And I think you're going to enjoy this quite a bit. Here we go. That's a Sakura one. And they're quite inexpensive. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them at Blick. Or any, you know, of your local stores, whichever one you prefer to use. So, and the paper, by the way, that I'm using is a black all-purpose. You know, it's nice and thick, very thick. So it is a multimedia paper, and it's nice and dull, and it works very well. So, you know, here I am putting a bit more in. So you see I'm just fiddle-faddling now. You just fiddle-faddle. Okay, there we go. A bit more fiddle-faddle. Why not, you know? Yeah, that's right. That's what I thought I should do. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's right. There we go. So now we've got a bit of a better look for the whole thing here. All right. I hope you have a lot of fun drawing your own dog. And if you have a black and white one, well then maybe you can give it a little bit of a whirl and use some black paper and some white pen, and there you go. And thank you so much